Hi, and welcome to episode 54 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, February 15th, 2019. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting, crocheting, and hand-dyed yarn to share with you all. Thank you so much for joining me. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character. And I also have a group for this podcast in Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you'll be able to find the show notes for this episode as well as previous episodes and several other chatter threads. You can also get in touch with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. And I have links to all of the places where you can find me in the description box below. Today I am wearing my Hannah's Summer Braid sweater, which is a beautiful design by Amy Self-Lindland of Amy's Little Kingdom. And I knitted this over the summer last year, and I had test knitted this pattern for her, and I have gotten so much use out of this garment. I knit it in my own hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn, on my Josephine base, which is a DK weight base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it is in my enriched colorway. I have a finished object to share with you all today, and I'm so pleased that I have been able to finish my son's sweater that I made for him. This is the Metamorphic pattern by Lisa K. Ross, and I am really happy with how it turned out. Here's the back of it. So this was it knitted up pretty quickly, really. It is also made on my Josephine base, so this is also my hand-dyed yarn, Noble Character Crafts yarn on my Josephine base, again, DK weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and the 3 colorways that I used are Choice Silver up here at the top, the lighter blue in the middle is my Cold Water colorway, and the dark blue is my Deep Waters colorway. This pattern is knitted from the top down seamlessly and has raglan increases here at the top. I did make a modification when I knit this. I separated for the sleeves quite a bit sooner than what the pattern called for, just because I tried it on my son as I was making it, and I wanted it to fit him well through the underarm. In the original pattern, according to the pictures that I have seen online, it looks like the fit is a little bit looser in the underarm. The separation for the sleeves is a little bit later on most of the fits that I've seen on the project pages. And I just wanted it to be more of a closer fit under the arm. So I just separated for the sleeves a little bit sooner. That is the only modification that I made to the pattern, however. So everything else I followed to pattern. I made the size 10. My son is 10 years old, and he is a little bit small for a 10-year-old, so I think that this should be a good fit for him for hopefully a few years. I used 4 different sizes of needles to get, well, the gauge for this pattern is 19 stitches to 4 inches. But for the ribbing, I used a US size 7 3.5 millimeter needle. I'm sorry, 4.5 millimeter needle. For the main body, I used a US size 8 5 millimeter. For the color work on the body, I used a US 9 5.5 millimeter needle. And then I actually went up to a US size 10 6 millimeter needle for the arm color work section. Just because I had noticed when I made the body color work that I felt like my gauge was still a little bit too tight, and I didn't want it to be too tight on the arms. Let's see, the ribbing is 2x2 on all of both the top and the hem. The neckline is picked up afterwards, as well as this little button placket piece. The sleeves are pretty fitted on my son, and well, they were very fitted when I first made it before I blocked it. My son insisted that he liked the fit of it anyway, but when I blocked it, I really stretched out the arms so that I could have a little bit more positive ease in the arms for him, just so that he can comfortably wear a shirt underneath it, and that really seems to have helped a lot. So I'm really very happy with it. I used quite a bit less yarn than what the pattern called for. The pattern said that I would need, I think about, well, what I dyed was 1.5 skeins of the choice silver colorway. I only used 1 skein. I dyed a 50-gram skein of the light blue, but I didn't use all of that. I don't have the little ball handy, but I bet I only used about maybe half of that, about 25 grams probably. And for the dark blue, I dyed 2 skeins of that, the Deep Waters colorway, and I was able to use exactly 1 skein for the main body. Just in the very last few rows of the ribbing, I had to break into the 2nd skein, and I was able to knit the 2 sleeves in the Deep Waters colorway. You know, I still had leftover. So anyway, I did have some extra yarn left over, so the yarn recommendations leave more than enough of wiggle room with the yarn requirements that are called for. I just had these 3 wooden buttons in my stash. They're a dark brown wooden button, and they seem to, I thought they looked really nice with the colors in the sweater. So anyway, you can kind of see how that looks, but I'll probably wear it mostly buttoned up. Maybe that top button he won't always button, but it's pretty, I like it buttoned up. It looks nice that way, I think. Yeah, I'm just really, really happy with it. It seemed to work up really quickly, and I do recommend the pattern. I thought that when I started swatching for this pattern that a gauge of 19 stitches to 4 inches was pretty loose for DK weight according to the other patterns that I've made using DK weight yarn. Usually it's a bit of a tighter gauge using DK weight yarn. And I still think that this is a pretty loose gauge for the DK weight. The way that it hangs on my son is just a pretty drapey fit, and I wouldn't have minded it being a tighter gauge, just to have more of a structure to it. I feel like it's just a little bit too drapey for my taste. So if I were to make this again, I think I would use a tighter gauge and just adjust the sizing to fit better. But I'm not disappointed overall. I mean, I'm still happy with the end result. And I think that we'll get a lot of use out of this. As I've said before, we have 4 sons, and so this is for my eldest, and my second oldest son is actually a little bit bigger than my oldest son, so he probably won't get to wear this, but I do have 2 younger sons that will be able to wear this when they get older. So I'm really happy with that we'll be able to get a lot of use out of it over the years. So anyway, this is the 3rd finished object from my Make 9 list, so that's super exciting, and I'm really happy to continue to work on my Make 9 list. I'm very excited about my upcoming projects that are on that list, and I think I'm going to stay focused on that for now anyway, unless my interests change. But for now, I'm still really excited about my Make 9 list, and I'm excited about continuing to work on those things. So I think that's all I have to say about this project. Very excited about it. My son is absolutely thrilled to have a sweater that I made for him, and he can't wait to start wearing it. So very happy with it. All right, so my works in progress. I only have 2 works in progress to share with you all. The first one is in this beautiful project bag that was made by Mary Ann of Rock Islander, and she did a swap with me last year, and this is what she made for me, and I absolutely adore it. And in here is the test knit that I am working on for Jill Karina. This beautiful design is called the Cassandra cardigan. Oops. And I have come quite a ways on this. I've been pretty monogamous with this project. So last time I recorded a podcast was 2 weeks ago, and I was right here where this project keeper is marking. So I was able to finish the body, including this beautiful color work down here at the bottom. And of course the ribbing is 1x1 ribbing. I did took out, I think, 2 rows out of the ribbing from what the pattern called for, just because I was running out of yarn. I had started alternating skeins when I got past the color work on the body here, but then when I got to the color work at the bottom, I just went to 1 ball of the Honor colorway, which is this deep purple colorway. And then I had a pretty small ball, and as I was doing the ribbing, it was running low, and so I just cut it short by 1 or 2 rows just so I wouldn't run out of yarn, but I think it's fine. I did 11 rows of the ribbing before I bound off. This is a top-down cardigan worked in the round. It is a steeked cardigan, so you can see there are 7 stitches here in the middle, and I will be sticking this cardigan, cutting it open when I'm all done. I am using my own hand-dyed yarn again for this project on my pitter patter base, which is a fingering weight base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and as I said, the main color is my Honor colorway. The contrast color is my Kindness colorway. And I really love how that has worked up with the speckles throughout it. I think it's so pretty. This is worked at a gauge of 24 stitches to 4 inches. I am using, for the ribbing, I'm using a US size 2.5 3mm needle. For the main body, I'm using a US size 6 4mm needle. And for the color work, I went up to a US 8 5mm needle. So as you can see, I have done 1 of the sleeves. And it also has this beautiful color work at the end here, and also 1x1 ribbing. Again, I did a tubular bind off for the cuff here, just so I would have a little bit extra stretch there. I did make the sleeves a little bit short on me. They hit about right here right now, but since this is 100% or 75% superwash merino, I'm pretty sure that it will stretch when it's blocked. And so that's why I made the sleeves a little bit shorter. And I hope that I can block it to be, you know, a more of a regular length, you know, so that it will come here up to this point on my arm. And I figure if it's still too short after blocking, I can always just extend the ribbing a little bit longer. But I think it will be okay, and hopefully it won't be too long once it's blocked. Hopefully it won't stretch out too much. I just have some markers on here so that I can make sure that both of the sleeves have the same number of rows. I have worked 125 rows from the end of the color work to the beginning of the next section of the color work. So those stitch markers are just marking every 10 rows so that I can keep track of how many rows I need to knit before I start the color work at the bottom of this sleeve. So I'm pretty far along. I think I've already worked 100 rows, maybe a little bit over the 100 rows. So actually I probably worked about 100 and, I don't know, 15 rows, I would guess. So I bet I only have about 10 more rows before I need to start the color work. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not going to cast on any other projects until this is finished, I've decided, because I really just want to get this finished. It is going to be, the pattern is going to be released on March 1st. So I would really like to get mine done and get her, the designer, Jill Carina, all of the notes that I have from, you know, since this is a test knit, I want to do my part and get her the notes that I have on this project so that, you know, she can add that to her pattern, her final pattern if needed. Although I haven't found any major mistakes at all. It's written so beautifully. So, oh, I forgot to mention about the pockets. The pockets they still need to be sewn in, but they, as you can see, have been worked here, and they're made in the contrast color as well. And there's just this flap on the inside that I need to sew to the inside of the garment. Anyway, I'm just so excited about this. After I finish the second sleeve, then I will need to just do the 2 bands, you know, the button bands. So yeah, it's nearing the end, and I'm very excited about it. I think it's just an absolutely gorgeous design. And again, I wanted to remind you all that during the month of March, 50% of the sales for this pattern are going to be donated to a cancer research organization. I'll put that down below, because this pattern is made in honor of Jill Karina's cousin, who was named Cassandra and had cancer. So the 50% of the sales during the month of March are going to be going to that cancer research organization. So that is a really awesome, not only do you get this beautiful pattern, but also quite a bit of the sales are going to be donated to that organization. So that is amazing. So I'm so excited to continue to work on this, and I think I should be able to have it done pretty soon. I'm hoping. I will need to sew along the steeked edges before I cut it open, which I haven't done before, but I'm going to be using my sewing machine to sew along the steeked edges before I cut that open, again, because this is superwash yarn. I don't want to have any issues with it unraveling, since it's not a, you know, a 100% wool non-superwash. That would be a little bit better for steeking, but I think that it will be fine as long as I sew down the edges before I cut it open. So I will need to do that. I have watched a tutorial on how that is done, and so hopefully that will go well without any problems. Okay, my other work in progress that I have been working on is in this really cool basket that I pick up a lot of my baskets at thrift stores, and this one, I don't even remember when I got this. I've had it for quite a while, but I love the design along the outside here. It also has a lid. It's kind of buried. I don't really use the lid, but it's here, so that's a really cool basket. And in here I have my Scrappy hexagon, I don't remember what I call it, my Scrappy hexi afghan, I guess. And I'm just really loving this, right? I mean, I've always loved it since I started it. I think I started it at the beginning of last year in 2018. But there have been quite a few different times when I have put it down and not worked on it at all. But I have gotten it to a point now where it is a complete hexagon. So I like to show it off when it's at this stage. So the last time I showed it, around each edge there were only 5 hexagons, and now you can see there are 6 hexagons along each edge. And I'm just really thrilled with how this is working up. I'm just imagining how it's going to look when it's all done, and I think it's going to be incredible. I'm really, really happy with this. This is my own design, but I don't have it published on Ravelry. I do have quite detailed notes on my Ravelry page if you are interested in this stitches I use for this, but it is, you know, there's a lot of hexagon patterns out there. It's nothing that's too intricate or anything. There are 4 rounds for each hexagon. I am using all scrap yarn, as you know, I mentioned it's a Scrappy afghan, of course, so I'm just using the tiniest little bit. So when I have a piece of scrap yarn that is even this small, I throw it in this basket, and it can be used for the, you know, the different sections. It doesn't take a lot of yarn at all to do these little tiny hexagons. So I actually discovered this week that so I'm using one color for the first 2 rounds, and then a second color for the 3rd round, and a 3rd color for the 4th round. And I discovered that actually I thought that the center took the least amount of yarn, but actually this 3rd round is takes a little bit less yarn than the center does. So that's good to know. It really doesn't take much at all for that 3rd round. Well, that little bit I just showed you, that would be enough to do the 3rd round, which is less than 1 gram, I bet. I am using a C 2.75 millimeter crochet hook, and it's all fingering weight yarn, and I'm crocheting as I go. So I am just working over all of the ends, so I don't have any ends to weave in. So here's the back side of it, and you can see that it's nice and neat. I just have the ends around the edge here that will be worked over as I continue adding on. And I am just so in love with this. I just love looking at it and I love working with the different colors of yarn, and I kind of like to make, sometimes I like to make each little hexagon, the colors in each hexagon work together, and I like to play with the different color combinations in each little hexagon. But then other times I'm just completely random and I just grab, and some of them aren't quite as beautiful in and of themselves, you know, just the one little hexagon, the colors kind of clash sometimes, but I think as a whole it's gorgeous and I really love it. So I'm so pleased with it. The feel of it is just so wonderful, and I can't wait until it's big enough that I can actually wrap up in it. And you know, I'm not really planning, I don't know if I'm going to have this be a regular throw that we have around our house, or if I would like to make it big enough for our bed or what, but I really doubt that this will be done. I don't know, maybe I feel like it might take me 10 years before it's done, but I'm really enjoying it. I've been trying to make one hexagon a day at least lately, and I'm going to try to keep that up just because I do enjoy working on it so much. And like I have said, I have had times when I haven't touched it for quite a while, and I like the idea of continuing to work on it little by little and not forgetting about it. So anyway, I'm just really loving it, and I'm excited to continue to see it grow. So that's all I've been working on. I feel like that's not very much for 2 weeks time, but I guess the Cassandra cardigan has, you know, it is a fingering weight cardigan. It is large, and so that has taken quite a bit of my time. And really that, I have been putting quite a bit of work into that hexie blanket as well, and it is quite time consuming to, you know, it's kind of fiddly to work with the little hexagons and crochet them in as I go. It is a little bit fiddly, but I really enjoy it. So I've been enjoying my works in progress, but I am very excited about casting on some new projects as soon as I finish the Cassandra cardigan as well. So I've been preparing my yarn for my upcoming works in progress that I would like to start, and I'm getting really excited about those as well. But like I said, I really want to finish my Cassandra cardigan before I start any other projects. So I do have a new thing to share with you all. I went home to Eastern Iowa, that's where I'm from, for my brother's, my brother passed away in January, and we had a celebration of life for him this last weekend. And so I traveled home and I got to see my cousin that is also a knitter, and she was so sweet to gift me this beautiful yarn. It is from Armful of Wool, which is hand dyed in Iowa. It is 80% wool merino superwash and 20% nylon. 400 yards for 100 grams. And this, she does have an Etsy shop, armfulofwool.etsy.com. The colorway is not, it's not marked on here, so I don't know what the colorway name is, but it's a really beautiful, kind of a butternut squash type of base, I would say. And then it has beautiful bits of this deep pink and golden colors. So it's really gorgeous. I absolutely love it. So thank you again so much, Allie. I really appreciate you thinking of me, and don't know what I'll be using this for, but I'm excited to use it for a beautiful project sometime. So thank you so much. She also gifted me a beautiful candle that is a laundry day scent. So it's got this nice fresh laundry scent to it. So thanks again, Allie. So I do want to share with you, every time I record a podcast, I like to share a set of yarn that I think would work well for a project. And this is actually going to be the yarn that I'm going to use for my next work in progress that I cast on. And it again is on my Make 9 list. I'm trying to get all 4 of these skeins in my hand at once. I'm going to be making the Brioche-Luscious shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I have this set of yarn from my Etsy shop that I am going to be making that shawl with. And I have decided to list this as a set in my shop as well, if anybody else would be interested in this set of yarn. So in this set, and it's a nice fade really, isn't it? From the cream to the black. So this is my undyed yarn named Lambs. And it is available on all 9 of my bases, as all of my yarn is, but this colorway is 50% less in cost than all my other colorways since it is undyed. And this is a new colorway that I dyed up specifically for this project. And it obviously has a neutral base, and then it is speckled with black, which breaks up into a few different colors. You can see there's some rusty orange bits. There's some brighter blue in tiny little places. Kind of in here you can see a bit of blue, almost like navy at sometimes, but then there's also some brighter blues at times. And every once in a while you get a bit of red as well. And I just absolutely love that when the dye breaks up into other little tiny colors. This is called Insight. And this is a new colorway that is also in my shop now. The next color is my Silent colorway, which is a light to medium gray base. And then it is also speckled with black. And again, you can see how it breaks up with the rusty colors and the bluish tones as well. And there's probably a little tiny bits of red in here too, but sometimes they're quite hidden, so I don't see any right now, but I really like that when you're knitting with speckled yarn, when you come across a little pop of color that is unexpected. It's exciting, I think. And the last color I'm going to be using is my Night colorway, which is a solid black. So I'm really excited about these colors together. This is going to be a gift for a lady that I go to church with, the shawl. And yeah, like I said, this is going to be in my shop, so if any of you are interested in this, it again would work well for the Spectre sweater by Joji Locatelli, because that calls for a fade in 4 colors, so that would work well for that. But for any other project that you would be interested in, I will have this in my shop as well. So I do have 2 other yarns that I wanted to share with you all. A few episodes ago, I had shared quite a bit of yarn that I had on a sample sport weight base that I was putting on clearance. And there was one more hank of yarn that got hidden in my supply bin. And I keep all of my yarn in a plastic container, you know, that I have ready to ship. And this one is another one that was dyed on that sample sport weight base. And it was hidden at the bottom and I hadn't noticed it, but this is my Like a Bird colorway. I had dyed this originally inspired by a picture of a mallard duck, and so that's where the color inspiration came from. So it has a neutral base and then it has some brown painted parts on it, as well as this deep evergreen type of color, more of a yellowish green, and this bright lime green as well in here. You can see a bit of that. And then it has the golden, which, you know, is for the bill of the duck. So it's just a really fun nature-inspired colorway. And so this is on that sample sport weight base, which is 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon, and it's 274 yards for 100 grams. So this is also going to be in my clearance section on my Etsy shop. So it will be on sale for only $18 if any of you are interested in it. And then I have one more that is going into my clearance section. This is on a worsted weight base, so my Lenora base, 100% superwash merino. I believe it's 220 yards for 100 grams. And this is just a one-of-a-kind colorway that I thought I would put in the clearance section as well, since it is non-repeatable. I'm not going to be repeating it anyway. The base color, as you can see, is showing up pretty well, is kind of a pinkish purple base, and then it has lots of colors speckled on it. Bright blue, teal, bright pink, some oranges, kind of a bright orange, although it's quite hidden. I guess there's a tiny section of the orange color. You got some purple in there where the colors have mixed together. And I believe there's some charcoal speckles on here as well, though I dyed this quite a while ago, so I'm just going off memory. Yeah, there's some deeper charcoal color specks in there as well. So this is not a named colorway, it's just a one of a kind, and it will be in my clearance section as well for $18 if any of you are interested. So that is all I have to share with you all today. Like I said, we did travel home to Eastern Iowa for my brother's celebration of life, which was really a nice, it was really nice. It was a nice turnout. There were so many people that came, people that I hadn't seen since I was a child, people that went to high school with my brother, and it was just really neat to see all of the people come that loved and respected him, people that traveled from North Carolina where he used to work, and they came all that way just to come to the celebration of life for him, and that was really neat to see how much of an impact my brother had made during his life. So that was really neat. It was hard. It was really a hard day, but it was good. Also, it was really good. So anyway, I was really glad to be able to travel home and to see my family, and yeah, so it was good. I think that's all I have to share with you all today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate you giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel if you would like. And I hope that you all have a wonderful week ahead. Thanks again for joining me. Bye-bye.